Most people do not decide whether to trust you by studying your words. They decide by noticing what happens inside them while they are speaking to you. Do they feel tense? Do they feel judged? Do they feel like they must explain every detail just to avoid being misunderstood? Or do they suddenly feel something rare? Relief. Because for once, someone is not waiting to interrupt, correct, impress, advise, or turn the conversation back toward themselves. There is one social skill that creates this feeling faster than charm, confidence, humor, or status. It is the ability to make another person feel accurately understood. Not merely heard. Understood. There is a difference. Almost everyone hears enough to reply. Very few people listen deeply enough to recognize what the other person is actually trying to protect, express, or hide. That is why someone can talk to you for 20 minutes and still leave feeling alone. You heard their story. But you missed their experience. They told you they were tired of their job, and you immediately suggested a new career. They told you their relationship was becoming distant, and you explained what they should do next. They told you they had failed at something important, and you tried to make them feel better by saying, "It's not a big deal." Your intentions may have been good. But the message they received was different. You are uncomfortable with my feelings. You want to solve me before you understand me. You are listening for the moment when you can speak. And trust quietly disappears. This is what most people misunderstand about social connection. They believe trust is created by saying the right thing. By sounding intelligent. By having impressive stories. By appearing strong, relaxed, interesting, or successful. But trust is not mainly created by performance. It is created by safety. People trust you when they sense that they can reveal something real without immediately being punished for it. Punishment does not always look aggressive. Sometimes it is a joke made too quickly. Sometimes it is unwanted advice. Sometimes it is disbelief. Sometimes it is a facial expression that says, "You should not feel that way." Sometimes it is using their vulnerable moment as an opportunity to tell a better story about yourself. A person says, "I have been struggling since my father died." You answer, "I know exactly how you feel. When my uncle died." And suddenly, their grief has become the entrance to your story. You may think you are relating. But they may experience it as disappearing. This habit is sometimes called conversational narcissism. It does not always come from arrogance. Often, it comes from anxiety. Silence makes us uncomfortable. Emotion makes us nervous. We fear saying the wrong thing, so we rush to fill the space. We offer advice because helplessness feels unbearable. We tell our own story because we want to prove that we understand. We minimize the problem because we want the pain to end. But in trying to remove the discomfort, we remove the connection. Here is the deeper truth. When people reveal something meaningful, they are not only sharing information. They are taking a social risk. They are watching your reaction. They are asking silent questions. Will you judge me? Will you use this against me? Will you think I am weak? Will you tell someone else? Will you make me regret saying this? Trust begins when your response answers those questions without needing to say, "You can trust me." This is why the most trustworthy people rarely announce that they are trustworthy. They demonstrate it through the quality of their attention. They do not treat your emotions like a problem to eliminate. They do not force you to defend your own experience. They make room for the possibility that your internal world is more complicated than it appears from the outside. Imagine two conversations. In the first, someone tells a friend, "I received the promotion I wanted, but I feel strangely empty." The friend laughs and says, "Empty? You should be grateful. Most people would love to be in your position." The conversation ends. The person may smile. They may agree. They may even apologize for complaining. But something closes inside them. Now imagine a different response. You worked toward this for years, so feeling empty now must be confusing. Was the achievement different from what you expected? Nothing dramatic happened. No perfect speech. No brilliant solution. But the person feels seen. The second friend did something powerful. They listened for the emotion beneath the sentence. Then they reflected it back without judgment. That is the skill. Accurate, non-judgmental understanding. It does not mean agreeing with everything someone says. It does not mean tolerating manipulation, disrespect, or harmful behavior. It does not require you to abandon your standards. Understanding is not the same as surrender. You can understand why someone is angry without accepting how they treated you. You can recognize someone's fear without obeying their demands. You can validate the emotion while challenging the behavior. You might say, "I understand why that embarrassed you, but speaking to me that way is not acceptable." That response contains both empathy and self-respect. Weak boundaries do not create trust. Neither does emotional coldness. Trust grows when people sense two things at the same time. You are willing to understand them. And you are strong enough to remain honest. So how do you practice this skill? First, stop preparing your answer while the other person is still speaking. Notice how often your attention leaves the conversation. They mention a problem, and your mind begins building advice. They describe an experience, and your mind searches for a similar story. They express an opinion, and your mind prepares a counterargument. Your body remains in front of them. But psychologically, you have already left. Real listening requires discipline. You must tolerate the temporary discomfort of not being the most interesting person in the room. You must delay the small reward of talking about yourself. You must resist the urge to prove your intelligence. This is not passivity. It is self-control. Second, listen for two layers. The event and the meaning. The event is what happened. The meaning is what it did to them. I was not invited to the meeting is the event. I feel invisible and replaceable may be the meaning. My partner forgot our anniversary is the event. I am afraid I no longer matter may be the meaning. My son never calls is the event. I wonder whether I failed as a parent may be the meaning. Do not assume you know the hidden meaning. Test it gently. That sounds like it made you feel excluded. Is that what hurt most? I wonder whether this is less about the anniversary and more about feeling unimportant. You sound angry, but also disappointed. Am I reading that correctly? Notice the humility in those responses. You are not declaring what another person feels. You are offering an interpretation and allowing them to correct you. That correction matters. Sometimes the fastest way to earn trust is to be willing to admit that you misunderstood. Third, reflect before you advise. Before telling someone what to do, show them that you understand what they are facing. You might say, "You are not afraid of the work. You are afraid of sacrificing another 5 years and discovering that it still means nothing to you." Or, "Part of you wants to leave, but another part is terrified that leaving will prove everyone right." Or simply, "You have been carrying this alone for longer than anyone realizes." A precise reflection can reach someone more deeply than 10 minutes of generic encouragement. But be careful. Do not turn this into a technique you mechanically perform. People can feel when empathy is being used as a trick. The goal is not to repeat their final sentence like a therapist in a bad movie. The goal is to become genuinely curious about the reality behind their words. Fourth, ask questions that open rather than interrogate. Weak questions search for facts. Powerful questions reveal meaning. What happened next can be useful. But sometimes a deeper question changes the entire conversation. What part of this has been hardest to explain to people? What are you afraid might happen now? What do you wish someone had understood earlier? What are you pretending does not bother you? These questions should not be fired rapidly. One honest question followed by silence is often enough. Silence is not always awkward. Sometimes silence is evidence that someone is finally thinking beyond their usual defenses. Do not rush to rescue them from that moment. Let them find the words. Fifth, validate the feeling without automatically approving the conclusion. Suppose someone says, "I failed once, so I am clearly not capable." Do not respond with false agreement. But do not crush the emotion either. You can say, "After investing that much effort, failing must have shaken your confidence." But one result does not prove that you are incapable. The emotion is real. The conclusion may be distorted. A trustworthy response respects both truths. This is emotional intelligence. Not blindly supporting everything another person believes, but helping them feel safe enough to examine their beliefs honestly. And here is where the skill becomes difficult. You cannot make other people feel understood if you are terrified of your own emotions. When you constantly avoid your sadness, you will rush other people through theirs. When you are ashamed of your fear, you will judge fear in someone else. When your identity depends on always being strong, you may treat vulnerability as weakness. Your ability to sit with another person's discomfort is limited by your ability to sit with your own. That is why deep listening is not merely a communication trick. It is a form of inner strength. It requires you to remain present without controlling the moment. To care without performing. To understand without losing yourself. To allow someone else's experience to exist without making it about you. This skill also changes conflict. Most arguments continue because both people are fighting to be understood, while neither is willing to understand first. Each person believes that listening means losing. So they repeat themselves louder. They collect evidence. They bring up old mistakes. They attack motives. But when one person accurately names what the other is protecting, the emotional temperature often changes. You feel that I made this decision without considering you. You are not only angry about tonight. You are worried this will become a pattern. You heard my criticism as proof that I do not respect you. Understanding does not guarantee agreement. But it removes the need to fight against an imaginary version of each other. Of course, trust is not truly built in one sentence. A powerful conversation can open the door. Consistency decides whether the door remains open. If someone shares something vulnerable and you later joke about it, expose it, weaponize it, or throw it back at them during an argument, the damage will be deeper because they trusted you first. Confidentiality is part of listening. Restraint is part of empathy. Character is what happens after the conversation ends. So use this skill carefully. Do not use someone's emotional openness to manipulate them. Do not collect personal information to gain influence. Do not pretend to understand someone only because you want approval, access, attention, or control. That may create temporary closeness. But it is not trust. It is emotional extraction. Real trust is not built by becoming indispensable to someone. It is built by becoming safe enough that they do not have to abandon themselves around you. That is the turning point. The most trusted person in the room is not always the loudest, funniest, most attractive, or most confident. It is often the person who makes others feel that they do not need to perform. Around them, you can stop editing every sentence. You can admit confusion. You can say, "I do not know." You can reveal the part of the story that makes you look less impressive. You can breathe. And perhaps that is what human beings are searching for beneath so many conversations. Not constant praise. Not automatic agreement. Not someone who can solve every problem. Someone who can look at the truth of their experience without immediately turning away. The next time someone speaks to you, do not ask yourself, "What impressive thing should I say?" Ask, "What are they trying to help me understand?" Listen for the feeling beneath the facts. Reflect it with humility. Let silence do some of the work. And remember that being understood is one of the rarest forms of respect. People may forget your clever words. But they will remember the moment they realized they did not have to defend their inner world from you. If this helped you see yourself differently, subscribe for more deep psychology and self-improvement lessons.